1 Kings chapter 5. We begin to dive into the preparations for building the temple. We dive into Solomon's business deals. He, in many ways, was a very wise master builder, and he accomplished much of which God called him to in building the temple and building his own palace. And the way that he was able to negotiate trade during his reign was second to none. The Bible tells us that when Hiram, king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father David, he sent his envoys to Solomon because he had always been on friendly terms with David. Here's what I love about this. You see one generation continuing relationships with the next. Hiram had always had good terms with David. He wished to continue it with Solomon. Solomon, we're going to see, has wisdom and looks to continue the relationships as well. What's the premise of the story? If there are bridges that have been put in place in one generation, we don't need to just burn them for no reason. There can be relationships that continue on from generation to generation. This was a mutually beneficial relationship. Solomon sent back this message to Hiram. You know that because of the wars waged against my father David from all sides, he could not build a temple for the name of the Lord his God until the Lord put his enemies under his feet. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, and there is no adversary or disaster. I intend therefore to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord told my father David when he said, your son whom I will put on the throne in your place will build the temple for my name. So give orders that cedars of Lebanon be cut from me. My men will work with yours, and I will pay you for your men whatever wages you set. You know that we have no one so skilled in felling timber as the Sidonians. He compliments someone that he does trade with. Who doesn't love to be complimented and honored? He says, let my men work with yours and learn from yours. Let me pay you. He says, help broker this deal for me. It's really strategic. He is using another king to help broker a deal for him with his own men to be trained. It's strategic, everything that's taking place. And I emphasize that to share this with you. There's a wisdom that Solomon walks in, but the chapter will tell us later that all of this wisdom comes from God. Verse 7, when Hiram heard Solomon's message, he was greatly pleased and said, praise be to the Lord today, for he has given David a wise son to rule over this great nation. He was pleased with what Solomon said, so Hiram sent word to Solomon. I've received the message you sent me and will do all you want in providing the cedar and juniper logs. My men will haul them down from Lebanon to the Mediterranean Sea, and I will float them as rafts by sea to the place you specify. There I will separate them, and you can take them away, and you are to grant my wish by providing food for my royal household. In this way, Hiram kept Solomon supplied with all the cedar and juniper logs he wanted, and Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 corns of wheat as food for his household, in addition to 20,000 baths of pressed olive oil. Solomon continued to do this for Hiram year after year, for the Lord gave Solomon wisdom, just as he promised him. So we see this relationship continues to take place from year to year. They would use the resources God had given them to trade with one another, and they would enrich one another and their nation so that their people prospered and they lived at peace. The Bible tells us that during this, the Lord gave Solomon wisdom just as he promised, and there were peaceful relations between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. They were allies. They were partners, if you will. King Solomon conscripted laborers from all Israel, 30,000 men. He sent them off to Lebanon in shifts of 10,000 a month, so that they spent 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of the forced labor, for Solomon had 70,000 carriers and 80,000 stonecutters in the hill, as well as 3,300 foremen who supervised the project and directed the workers. At the king's command, they removed from the quarry large blocks of high-grade stone to provide a foundation of dressed stone for the temple. The craftsmen of Solomon and Hiram and workers from Byblos cut and prepared the timber and stone for the building of the temple. So he's got this massive team. It reminds me of, in our area, the two quickest things that go up are when they're putting in a Chick-fil-A or a Publix. Like, nothing comes in quicker than a Chick-fil-A and a Publix. It's like boom, 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 boom. Somehow even Chick-fil-A, they don't even work on the building on Sunday. They still get it done quicker than anyone else. It's amazing. But you see in the story that Solomon has so many thousands upon thousands of workers that he has over 3,000 foremen, 3,000 leaders. And he is efficiently and wisely building this monstrosity that God has called him to. And really what the Bible just unpacks for us is what Solomon is building is beyond a person. But verse 12 tells us that the Lord gave Solomon wisdom. And because of the wisdom that God had given Solomon, Solomon was able to do exceedingly abundantly above than people would have thought. And in your life and in my life, when we take the wisdom of God and we apply it to relationships, when we apply it to business, when we apply it in every area of our life, people see his favor on our life. It's not us. It's him at work through us. Be blessed today.